live and breathe Wild Rift.
We have gone through the best of the best.
It's now or never.
That was massive.
This is going to be hype.
This is your moment to shine.
It's down to this final play.
Bigger than me, you're not bigger than me. Big up on the streets, but I'm bigger on the scene. Yeah, bigger than me, you're not bigger than me.
Whether it's been incredible Zed outplays, unkillable Super Jaxes, or finessing late-game Varus's, or Varus-I, or just Varus, the Horizon Cup has had a little bit of everything to inspire just about every fan as we roll into Day 4 of Horizon Cup. It's your boy Digon here with the Rocky Zoro and Kangas, and you know, one of you may look pretty different by the end of the day. You hold your tongue. Let's take a listen to something you said in the past.
Have the faith in North America.
Oh, yeah.
We're going all the way, baby. We're also making it out of groups. I'll bet my beard on that one.
Oh, you bet your beard on literally everything. Come on, Riku, save us.
All right, well, now it's time to put up or shut up, mister. If you bet your beer on everything, it's coming right now.
You know what? I still think Tribe can do it. I think there's about a 5% chance, and that's all we need, baby. That's all we need. We got it.
Oh, man. Araki, how you feel today, brother?
I'm feeling great. I'm feeling great, Decon. Yesterday was a blast, and if the matches are anything alike today, we're in for a serious, heavy, exciting day.
Yeah, can't wait. With just 2 more days of groups left, let's take a look at the standings. We got the Chinese teams on top here, Kangas, but what's happening over in Group B?
Yeah, Group B. We went into this tournament expecting this to be a scrappy group, and it is delivering. We still have 4 teams in the running for the 3 spots to get out, and I mean, everybody's dropped a game. Like, ThunderTalk, they're in first place. They're 2-0, but they have dropped 2 games in their 2 series that they played so far. They should still be favorites to make it out of this group, but I'm excited because it just shows the level of competition that we actually have in this group.
Now, Rocky, what's happening over in Group A, and what stood out to you the most?
Yeah, I think a surprise that's not only to me, but the vast majority of people watching coming into the Horizon Cup is how well TSM are performing right now. I mean, they're in 3rd place for the time being over both SBTC as well as Tribe. And at this point, if they keep this kind of form moving forward, it's very likely that they make it out of the group.
Yeah, well, TSM has been a standout, but also in Group A, Dakun Gaming has already clinched a spot in the knockout stage, but according to Dragon Later Wind, they have much higher aspirations than just getting out of the group.
开心嘛，毕竟晋级了吧，反正，尽量反正保证全胜吧。然后主要是，反正我们应该比别人队伍下功夫多一点。因为主要是我们队员都很厉害吧，主要是也挺团结的吧。
Dakun Gaming with an absolute monstrosity of a performance, an awesome display of power. This is why Dakun Gaming are looking to be the best team at Horizon Cup.
毕竟他们也现在也全部胜了吧，就输了1小场嘛，威胁还是有的吧，就尽量打好自己的吧，我觉得。TS 吧，主要是和他们之前在国内打训练的比较多，就比较熟吧。还有 TT 吧，毕竟是我觉得中国大陆赛区的，实力也挺厉害的吧。
Well, Wind just listed off some of the top competitors. So, Kangas, my question to you is, who is it?
Throw the Tribe video in there? The 11-minute, like 25-second win. I think we could have cut that for the highlight reel. It would have been fine.
I mean, it was the most impressive win from the impressive team, so who can stop them?
You know what? That's a good question. I know Iraqi Zor has his thoughts on this, but mine is a little different. I actually want to go to the other group, Group B, because I think the Team Secret, he mentioned it in that video right there. Yeah. They are a big competition. And the biggest thing I'm looking at is the jungle matchup. I think Trevor versus Weva is going to be an insane matchup. I can't wait to see it. And I'm expecting these 2 teams to potentially even match up against each other in the finals.
Araki, how about you, brother? Who can stop this monstrous team?
For me, it will have to be KT Rolster Y, the team right beneath them in standings. Their match will be happening later today, and with how much the team has improved since the last time we saw them face off versus the Chinese teams, I have a feeling that KT will be out for blood to get vengeance for the WCK.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Again, we've talked a lot about the international event that they got to have, the WCK against the WPL, and didn't quite go the way of the Korean teams, but Rolster's looking pretty good. Now, yesterday, when talking about these teams, Iraqi Zoro, you wanted to dive into the meta that was shaping up here at the tournament. We weren't quite able to get to that discussion, but now after 4 more matches, it seems like the read on the meta has only solidified even stronger.
Yeah, there's been a very clear meta shared across the top teams, the ones leading their groups, and I feel like it's time to break it down a little further. The most standout priorities in the pick ban phase that we've seen so far have revolved mostly around the Baron lane. Things like the Renekton, the Camille's, the Rivens, and the Fiora. The last two in particular have been really popular because they can be flexed in between multiple roles and are also really dominant in lane, so they can create a lot of the early game setup that we see a lot of teams use for early side lane dives. And I think we're starting to see a trend in the teams that have the players who can make the best use and are outstanding on those champions have a significant edge in draft. And as for the teams that don't quite have the champion pools, I think they'll have to figure out some answers, because if you just keep banning them, you're gonna be limited in your options in draft.
But I think this is something interesting because, yeah, the majority of teams are following this draft pattern, but the top two teams in each group are a little different. You look at ThunderTalk, and they actually play a lot through their jungler instead. I mean, Dakun Gaming, we know that Hueba is the primary carry there, and ThunderTalk, Feibai is often put on things like Diana and Gragas, things that aren't those big carry champs. Now, has played the Renekton, yes, but oftentimes will play weak side top lane. So it's cool that the majority of teams have this read on the meta, but I'm wondering if it's the correct read. But what's also cool is the spillover effect that it has on other roles, because now we've seen a lot of things like Ziggs and Senna super high ban priority. Things like Varus have been coming out and played a lot of long range AD carries, and then also engaged supports like the Rakan. 20% win rate on 10 games, so it's not doing the best right now, but it shows that teams are trying to find other forms of engage to enable these kind of bruiser style carry Baron laners.
Yeah, and I'd like to also add, because of what we just broke down about the prio picks in the Baron lane, blue side has become the most popular for teams to choose whenever they have side selection. And it's because on blue side, you can always get one of those champions, no matter the situation. What I'd like to start seeing, in particular for the red side teams, is to leave multiple priorities open, so that when one of them is taken away, you trade back multiple of your own. And I think one of the teams that has done this really well so far has been KT Rolster Y.
That's going to be super fun to see how these teams battle back, because a lot of the time early on in the tournament, you try to perfect the meta, and then you get those teams that are willing to dare a little bit, leave up a couple of those picks and see if they will, the other team will dare to pick them back. Now, we'll get to see how these teams adapt as we jump into day 4's matches, which has no shortage of big ticket bangers. We have Rolster Y versus DKG matchup first. We'll see if Korea's representatives can take down the Titans of Group A. Then we have a clash between Group B's Secret and Sengoku, with SBTC versus Tribe and ThunderTalk versus Team Queso to round out the day. Now, in the first match, ThunderTalk can lock in not only a playoff spot, but this could be the win that wraps up the first seed for them here, Kangas.
Exactly. ThunderTalk versus Team Queso is our first match of the day. And honestly, ThunderTalk, they played their two strongest opponents in their group already. They got Team Queso and then Ebro coming in tomorrow. So I think that ThunderTalk should realistically be in a spot to take first seed. And the reason that's so important is because if you get first seed, you dodge out on quarterfinals. You go right into that semifinals for the knockout stage. And I think ThunderTalk are pretty much all but guaranteed. Team Queso, they still can, provide a bit of a challenge, but ThunderTalk should be favorites to take first seed by this point.
And I really do enjoy that ThunderTalk Gaming are having so much success with their own style and their own meta, not really conforming to the rest of the tournament meta. We saw the Malphite support come out a couple of times, the Feibai, Diana in the Baron lane, which is very unique. At the same time, though, I do wonder if their unique style and draft has more to do with their champion pools, because I don't believe S12K does play Rakan, and I don't think Feibai plays any meta Baron laners besides the Renekton. So those are the problems that they'll need to solve going forward, especially if they make it to playoffs and they face tougher competition.
Well, those are a couple of the champs from around the map, but over on the Baron side of the map, I know that there's a little bit of a worry for you that you think Team Queso can exploit.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if Renekton is off the table, Feibai is very limited in his options. He either goes to the Diana or the Gragas. So it's a one way and an easy way for Team Queso to approach the matchup and give Acolyte a possible really favorable matchup that he can maybe run away with.
Yeah, and you can see here in this draft, Sengoku versus ThunderTalk, where the Diana came up. And again, like, You only get 3 bans, so you want to make sure you are targeting them in the right spot here, Kangas. So how do you feel like Queso is going to match up here against TT?
I honestly feel like Queso has a decent shot in this specific match because of this Baron lane matchup. You look at Acolyte, you look at what he's been playing, a lot of carries. He's gotten multiple solo kills throughout the entire tournament too. His Darius in particular is pretty scary. I think that if you are Team Queso, your goal is to actually play through Acolyte. You already can identify the ThunderTalk don't play through Fabai nearly as much. Yes, there's that one Renekton game, but if you just ban away the Renekton, I don't think you need to worry about the Gragas or Diana. Just let him play weak side and then try and play through Acolyte. And then, of course, there's also the mid lane matchup that can't be ignored either. I think Ruiz, we got to give credit to him coming in here. Good luck, as you will be going up against Z, which is a tough opponent to have, of course. But I think that the solo laners from the side here of Team Queso are really going to be their win condition.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really big question mark, right? How will they deal with Z? His Zed is one pick that he's been popping off on, and if you do give it to him, he gets a little bit of a lead. It's really hard to deal with. I wouldn't mind seeing heavy jungle focus around the mid lane, specifically from Andre, so that he can help Ruiz. I know, and we all know, that they have really good synergy in setting up plays and ganks specifically before 5 minutes or right after they get their ultimates. So if they can shut down Z and he doesn't get to his zone where he can take over the game against anyone, there is a good chance that Team Queso can pull off an upset.
You know, these are how Queso can win, but I do also want to be honest and realistic here.
Sure.
Because I don't have them as favorites coming into this, and a big part of that is also because of the Dragon lane, which we didn't necessarily cover. We want to talk about Queso's strengths, right? How they can do it.
Yeah.
But then you look at the Ibu versus Azure matchup, and Azure is a player that is, again, the big story coming into the tournament was ThunderTalk had 3 subs.
Yeah.
Azure's one of them, and has been popping off. Like, I'm very impressed with this player's level of performance, and Ibu has kind of been struggling here and there, especially in that laning phase. So I feel like ThunderTalk, if they play through the bottom lane, that's also going to be their win condition.
Araki?
Yeah, I love that you're touching on Ibu because they did play Draven yesterday and it wasn't looking too good.
It was a cool pick. I like it. I like the idea.
No, it was super exciting. It was super exciting. They just need to play around it better if they go for it again and try to give it a gold lead, because if Draven does get ahead, his damage is insane, especially if he itemizes correctly, goes with the Bloodthirster, gets a little bit of lethality under his belt, maybe a GA later on. So there is potential there, but they need to put more resources if they go for a risky pick, such as the Draven. And
play an engaged support, because they played it with a Braum, and I didn't like that either, because that's like more defensive, like anti-engage with the Draven. If they had picked an Alistar, a Leona, a Rakan, I know that Rakan's kind of the most popular out of those. I think the Alistar's actually showing that it can be played to a very high level. That's the kind of lane I want to see with the Draven. So, I mean, I think Queso, they can still look at that saying, we tried it, but don't be afraid to try it again. I think that there is still something there, but also you got Acolyte, so you can just play through him instead.
Yeah, and that was my worry about the Alistar pick, and I think D-Man talked about it yesterday when it got picked. Once you miss one of those headbutt pulverized combos, then you start getting your head like, okay, this is supposed to be secure engage, but now I might mess it up and just headbutt him away, and everone's watching, so you're a little worried about that.
You do the Kyle smash right before you don't quite get the headbutt off. You just end up smashing the ground instead. We saw a couple of those yesterday too.
Right.
But in general, the engage supports are the style that we have been seeing because, like we said, it enables those engages and Acolyte to play things like the Darius top lane. Now, if we're talking about realistic expectations, like I said, I still have ThunderTalk taking this one, but if Team Queso have a chance, I do think that they, can play through those solo lanes, and maybe we get that 2-1.
All right, well, I need both of you guys to put down your picks now. Rocky, we'll start with you. Who you got?
Okay, I'm going to go with ThunderTalk 2-0 over Team Queso. I do think they are overall the better team and have better, more solid fundamentals, whether Z does to pop off or not. So, yeah, 2-0 for ThunderTalk over Team Queso.
Kangas?
I think ThunderTalk are locking in their playoff spot right here. I think that they're going to take this one. I'm going to say 2-0 as well. And actually, this would be locking in first seed if they win this one, because mathematically, nobody else can take that away from them. So,
guys,
I'm giving it to them.
Guys, we did all this table setting for Queso, and now everyone in Europe that started to believe, now we're like, what are these guys talking about, man?
This is good, because my predictions are crap. So, I don't think I've gotten like more than one right. So.
All right, well, hey, the games are narrowing down as the knockout spots are getting snatched up. So let's send it on over to Singapore to get day number 4 of the Horizon Cup underway.
best thing about water, every single second matters.
What would I do without my people?
Tribe Gaming against SBTC.
We are going to have to just try and work on our consistency. To be consistent in our gameplay, we can take off a win.
Thì không cần quan tâm thủ lai, bọn mình phải làm tốt nhiệm vụ của bản thân mình trước đã. Động lực của mình thì đơn giản thôi, đó là mình muốn đứng trên đỉnh vinh quang cao nhất của bộ môn này.
See you later, Sengoku. It's all ThunderTalk here in the series.
他们的实力以及他们的打法都很凶悍的那种，我们一定要做好远位以及对他们的防守这种。
Team Queso, how do they rebound?
I think mechanically we are just better. When it comes to stage, we always get a stage buff. Let's see on stage what happens.
Roster Y versus Dakun Gaming.
Things that are consistent. Death, taxes, and Dakun game smashing you.
毕竟他们现在也全部胜了吧，也就输了一小场吧，威胁还是有的吧。
Dakun Gaming, an awesome display of power.
就是很开心吧，主要是大家就是也不会很紧张，尽量打好自己的吧，我觉得。
Rolster are now 2-0 in this group.
DKG, they are the team to beat.
DKG를 이기는 게 최고의 길에서 한 걸음을 갈 수 있는 그런 승리라고 봅니다.
Sengoku definitely surpassed expectations.
中打戦がやっぱ格闘になって、その展開の速さとかで、それに対応が早くできるかっていうその
Beautifully played by Sengoku.
みたいなのがこう試されてる感じがし、相手の対応に対してこうちゃんとした回答を出すみたいないうチームなので。
Sengoku Gaming versus Team Secret.
And Team Secret just taking what they want.
We are confident that we will win versus Sengoku. I think our solo laners can easily beat their solo laners. We're just having fun, we're just playing the game, enjoying the game. That's why we always win.
I've never breathed Wild Rift.
We have gone through the best of the best.
It's now or never.
That was massive.
This is going to be hype.
This is your moment to shine. It's down to this final play.
Bigger than me, you're not bigger than me. Big up on the streets, but I'm big up on the scene.
Hello and welcome everyone. It is day 4 of the Wild Rift Horizon Cup. My name is Petri Tam. Joining me is TJ, and boy oh boy are things getting spicy as we move ever closer, TJ, to qualifying those 6 teams.
Teams are getting locked in, teams are getting eliminated, and we're going down the docket today. We've got a lot of very important matches in terms of group standing.
Yeah, and this one is going to be very important for the ThunderTalk side. They will be taking to the Rift up against Team Queso. A win here, as we did hear from the desk, does lock in ThunderTalk to first, I believe. That's how single round robin works in this kind of group stage, which of course will give them an extra berth into the semi-finals, without kind of skipping that first round, which is always nice.
Look at you doing math.
That's the one and only time I'll ever get that right. And only because someone else said it before I got there. Yeah.
You nailed it, Pastry. We're going off that. For Team Queso on the opposite side, I think it's important for them to get on the board here. Obviously, the expectations are not that they win this match. As they talked about on the desk, this is currently one of the scariest teams in the tournament over on the ThunderTalk side. At the very least, the team coming out of the franchised league in the strongest region right now. So Team Queso get on the board here. That feels very good for them. And it's very important for this team as well, a very experienced mobile esports roster.
Yeah, it's definitely curious to see how teams, who've come from other places are kind of finding their way here. Obviously, for ThunderTalk, they had not the roster they intended, and I feel like they are using their individual skill and kind of playing into form as a team. Whereas Queso, these 5 have been around forever in some way.
Yeah, particularly the core 3. You're looking at Memorized, Ruiz, and Ibu. They played together in Arena of Valor, where they were erstwhile competitors in the EU scene, but very rarely would manage to actually go the final instance. They attended, I think, 1 international event that entire time. They never won the EU regional tournament. They would always come 2nd or 3rd. And it's felt kind of tragic for me that they finally got the ticket to the international stage. This was the time coming to Wild Rift. They surprise everyone at Origin Series, get the ticket, book the ticket here to Horizon, and now they're really up against one of the scariest teams in the tournament.
Right, and this group is a little messy. Obviously, ThunderTalk are leading it, but they've only played those 2 matches. Still have this one to play to kind of round out the rest of their group and at least lock in their berth at first. So we'll see what happens here for ThunderTalk. Definitely a lot to talk about here. We'll start things up, I suppose, with this draft. As ThunderTalk are going to start on the blue side, Queso over on the red, and it is Ziggs taken away first off.
And that Ziggs is no surprise, because of course the matchup we're all talking about is there in mid. Ruiz, even though I kind of set us up, Team Queso never won first place at any of the Arena of Valor EU tournaments. They were always close, they were always competitors, and Ruiz was a big reason why. This is one of the scariest mid-lane players in European mobile esports, and he's proven that here on stage, pulling out things like the Ziggs. You can also pay attention to his Twisted Fate, to his Diana, if he can get either of those. And I'd like him to pivot kind of away from the pool he's been playing so far in this tournament, maybe towards the more dual-focused characters he pulled out regionally. You're talking about things like the WRE. I want to see maybe more of that in Ruiz's performance here, because there's an awful lot of pressure for him to shut down the most talked about player in the tournament, that being Z on the other side of the table.
Quick recap here. It is, you know, starting things up with the mid lane band. Zed and Ziggs going to be joined by Fiora, Camille, Lulu, and Riven. That does leave both Twisted Fate up for Ruiz, which he's going to take, but Febe is going to snatch Renekton up first.
So you do get the Twisted Fate for Ruiz, his most played character at this tournament so far, one of his best characters, very good sign for Team Queso. And weirdly enough, they banned 2 mid lane characters so far against Z. You might be like, I only see the Zed, but actually that Riven goes quite a lot as well.
I mean, honestly, I think he and Faber would be happy to swap up if they absolutely had to as well. His Riven is pretty nuts. As Senna going to be the other selection there for Team Queso. Also a very high presence, a very powerful champion currently.
The Senna presumably will be put down in that bottom lane. And I would expect it to go to Ibu. It could be flexed either way. You could see a support Senna, but very likely it's in Ibu's hands as a scaling damage threat. Ibu hasn't really been able to deliver on the high mechanics characters at this tournament. He's been, I think, maybe struggling with some stage nerves. Back when he did play on the Team Queso Arena Valor team, he was actually the jungler. But in that game, you can play a lot of high mobility, kind of marksman style characters in the jungle. And here, that's been taken away from him. He's not been able to deliver. So I like the pick of moving him over to the Senate, putting the Galio in lane with him. Galio is a character that very much fits Memorized pool. He's a really good team fighting support who loves to get those big engages. So give me a Galio Senate bottom lane. They have the Twisted Fate in mid. They've got a lot of the tools to win mid-game team fights, which Team Queso seem to think is their path to victory.
It's funny, we were talking about this off-air right before we got it going, and I was thinking, you know what, we saw a lot of Kazakhs qualifying into this tournament, TJ. We haven't seen him yet on the Horizon Cup stage, but Andre is saying, you know what, this is the kind of matchup where I'm happy to take Kazakhs.
If you can get these Kazakhs into the backline against the Xayah, against something like this Orianna that gets locked in for Z, you're always going to find that kill. Any point in the game, and even gold Kazakhs. You don't even need the gold advantage a ton of assassins need. You just need dead even gold. Kazakhs can find those kills.
Very curious to see the Ari once again for Z. He's good on the pick, but this is not the super map dominant picks we've seen him really succeed on so far.
So, team fight composition in whole for Team Queso. Over on the opposite side for ThunderTalk, it's much more around their scaling potential. That's why you bring out the Xayah and the Orianna. You're looking for those late-game skirmishes, those late-game team fights, and they will be very scary at that scaling point. But Team Queso have the tools to answer, so that means the game to me is much more on this mid lane, where the Orianna is going to be played by Z. Can he deliver a performance that once again is the extra 20% that ThunderTalk need?
Yeah, Jarvan obviously pretty safe top laner for Acolyte, not going to be potentially taking over the game like he has on Darius and the like so far this tournament. But I mean, up against Renekton, I think this is a lane you're happy to just go even in and chill out, because you definitely trust NTF to come to your lane, you trust in your Kazakhs to come to your lane, and you obviously trust in the 5v5 you've drafted for yourselves as well. So I'm looking at ThunderTalk and I'm saying, yeah, you've got the Xayah Ori scaling, but I'm looking for Chris to be pretty active in this early game alongside his solo laners.
You want the Lee Sin to be doing that. The first 5 minutes are critical for the Lee Sin. Chris should be getting out of the jungle and into the lanes, threatening as soon as possible, particularly the Twisted Fate in mid, who is more vulnerable in those opening moments to Twisted Fate than at any other point in the game, or to Lee Sin than any other point in the game, because once he gets the gold card reliably online, it's over.
And this is definitely a matchup where we kind of alluded to it earlier, but I think it is worth talking again as we are going to move ourselves into the first game between these two. You know, for all of Z's talents and his dominance, especially in 1v1s as a Baron or top laner, he has not necessarily been that player yet in mid lane, whereas Ruiz absolutely can be that player in the 1v1.
Yeah, we did see one Orianna game from Z so far. That's kind of the most mid lane character he's played. So I think that if that's the marker, frankly, he's not that scary in lane. Now, the good news about Orianna for Z is that Orianna is a really good late game character. Really good once you get out onto the map, once you have late game damage. And we can look forward to that from Z, a player who has consistently delivered once he's able to get out on the map. But if there's an angle for Team Queso here, if there's a chance for Team Queso to shut down ThunderTalk, it comes in that lane phase where we saw Hawk and Rush be able to shut down Z. Yes, he's a star player. Yes, he's terrifying mechanically, but he doesn't look that comfortable as a mid laner. And if the mid-jungle duo can get out on the board and start scaring him in the first couple of minutes, that could shut him down.
All right, well, looks like level 1 is going to have some spice. There's the gold cut. Everyone's walking in. Oh, battle for Khan. But Chris is actually the one lowest. The Ignite is there, and then it's First Blood. Team Queso just take it away. Faye way too late to try and save the day. So yeah, kicking off with an absolute banger, TJ.
Team Queso, don't waste a moment. The experienced team rushes down mid, launches what we call an EU start to a game, and manages to find all of ThunderTalk. Acolyte hunting down that kill in the very back of ThunderTalk, earning themselves a massive lead. Yes, it's big for Acolyte. He gets the gold injection in that top lane that is very important for this match. But also, we were just talking about how the Lee Sin needed to do early damage, and he is going to be starting with a handicap. It looks like about 100 gold.
All right, well, if you do have Amazon Prime after all that, be sure to link your Prime Gaming account before more action happens. And you can link that with your WRE account for a free skin capsule, which thank you for reminding me I still need to do this and claim my free skin.
I did that the other day. I was like, oh, I get free
I heard it on the broadcast last time. I was like, I should do that, and then I forgot, and here we are. As Ruiz does get the gold cut down onto Chris, who is trying to stay active here, but Z is going to struggle, certainly, with the early game. Going nice and early in the favor of Team Queso.
Well, you know what they say, teaching is the #1 way to remember something. So I think this time round, you'll link the accounts, everything will be sorted.
Well, we'll hope so. Wait till I come back in 3 days from now, and it's like, yep, forgot again. By the end of the tournament, surely I'll have figured it out.
You keep doing the read. Our early skirmishes went pretty well for Team Queso, most notably in that they got that opening kill, but also then you see that match happen in mid, where Chris goes back, tries to kind of repair the deficit, provide that early value. Here we go.
Red buff here for Chris. Renekton pretty good to set up. Ooh, a little early bats on the dive. Acolyte very nicely dodged.
I apologize, Julie. I was holding on to that because I was like, there's no way they actually go for this.
Oh, no, they go for it.
Acolyte is playing a Jarvan underneath the turret. He just clears out the wave, lives his best life. Interestingly enough, Chris is still here.
We're at it again. There's the stun. Q lands. That could be a kill. Barrier down there as well. Faye though, dashing on in, does get the kill. Forced to flash, so it's going to be a trade at the end of the day.
That's disastrous!
Yeah,
they spent
what you wanted.
So much time up there, Julian. They spent so much time, and Acolyte gets a 1-for-1, which means that ThunderTalk were already behind in that jungle matchup. We're already behind in the amount of influence that Chris was going to be able to have on the map, and then he tries to kind of undo that by dedicating all that time and resources to get a kill onto Acolyte, and it does not work out. Acolyte correctly reading this situation, saying, okay, if I force the fight, if I start with some damage onto Chris, maybe I can turn things my way. And it does mean that Chris doesn't follow underneath the turret, and he gets the kill onto Faye.
Yeah, I think Faye thought that he wasn't in range for that auto, and wanted to flash or at least make sure he got the kill, because he was probably there anyway. But the auto was in the air, it actually did get the kill, so I think he could have flashed out to safety, but unfortunately, just a split second behind there.
Anders now here for the return.
A nice little prowl here out of the Kha'Zix, level 5, ulti at the ready. Ulti here for Ruiz as well, top side V1, Dominus pop, level 6 Renekton, but I'm not sure he can survive in the drive, and hot tub indeed. Wow. He is going to get fried, as that's yet another kill for Team Queso.
But that hot tub got hot. Ruiz dies in the middle of it.
Too hot.
Got to turn it down. Ruiz can't take the heat. It's when you stay in the hot tub too long and your muscles kind of relax too much. Ruiz doesn't have the reaction time in the middle of all that to get out of to burn the flash, to get out of the Jarvan Cataclysm, which means that now down a player, Team Queso are struggling to hold on to their map control. ThunderTalk push forward down bottom and take a free plane off here, getting a little bit more gold back. and keeps us roughly even in the mid game.
Yeah, taking a plate always nice. Chris here finds a Q, throws it onto Rubies, but not going to go in for it. You can see the rest of Queso are collapsing to protect this pretty important first dragon. It is an Infernal, which is everyone's favorite Drake to fight over.
Yeah, I would say that Infernal is the most powerful Drake in this game by a pretty wide margin, so ThunderTalk will very likely step up for this. Here we go.
With the smite at the ready. Looks like they're not in range for a steal. Excuse me. It's 12K looking to go in. Chris actually kicks him out of the way. He's going to try and take it. And Zaya got it. Azure actually gets the final hits in. And somehow no one on ThunderTalk dies.
Chris just says, thank you very much. I'll take this, Anders. Kicks him out of the pit. Just flat out rejects him. And then auto attacks and cleans it up.
Nice and easy there, bit of help on Zaya at the end, but it does work out. A nifty little dragon steal as I look up and ThunderTalk are up 2,000 gold, which is not what I thought I would say when I looked at the kill count.
Yeah, that just spins things right back in their direction. They've been trading pretty evenly, but obviously that whole exchange is a pretty massive boon, not only, of course, in the 2,000 gold they get at the top of the screen, but also you're sitting on an Infernal Drake that's going to be a couple hundred gold worth of damage for the rest of the game, scaling to get greater, of course, because of the percentage, 6%. So ThunderTalk are really controlling this early game.
Yeah, taking the Drift Tower as well, which kind of adds insult to injury. And the reason the gold is the way it is because Feibai just didn't walk down to that dragon fight. He didn't need to, didn't have TP, can't get anywhere, takes the full tower, and then it's like, oh, we just won every side of the map at 5 minutes. And Team Case are in a pretty big hole to kick off this early game, despite their good pressure.
One thing you need to watch out for if you're ThunderTalk, kind of the path back into this 14K, so is through the mid-game item spikes that are available for Team K. So you're looking in particular at second item completion on Ruiz. He's going to be looking for Lichbane, which is going to be a pretty massive swing in terms of damage. So we'll see if they can get anything done kind of around the 10-minute mark is when that's going to come online. But I have to tell you, Paystream, it's not looking good as another turret falls down bottom.
Yeah, and Z getting some pressure, but not even need to use the purple hands buff as Chris holds onto the Herald. Team Queso trying to counter push here in mid, but there's just nothing really for them. Ori's wave clear is pretty good, and the rest of ThunderTalk are already reinforcing. They're going to have to back away there.
And this is where, if you're in team comms, somebody starts saying, it's all right, we got late game. And that is kind of true for Team Queso. They do have Twisted Fate, who's going to be a menace in duels throughout the entire game. They do have, of course, Senna Galio, both of whom perform very well in the late game. And they'll have the tank from the Jarvan. But I don't know the significantly outscales with Z's Orianna, what Azure's Kai'Sa are going to do.
Of course, catching up. It's going to be a long road here. Team Queso down 3,000 gold as we are at the 7-minute mark currently. Z harassing Ibu there, pretty effective on the Ori as topside Feibai is looking to take Dominion over this half of the map. In the jungle, Andre caught. Ruiz there going to protect it with a gold card. Does get some damage onto Chris, but that's about it.
And all of Team Queso are suffering from losing those turrets. You see ThunderTalk are the type of team that's always going to press advantage. Good room.
Chris has to flash. Very sneaky way up, and now it's a 2v4 for the rest of the squad. Ruiz trying to chase it down. I think he wants the backup kill indeed. He will take the lead in, but now caught out of position. S12K trying to get in there, but can't find it. And the Herald's just hanging out. It dropped him mid before he died. And there we go, Acolyte popping in. Jacuzzi's open once again. Galio ulti down on top. Z flashes out. Azure walks out just in time. Blake caller roots on the Feibai flashes in for the stun and nails it. As ThunderTalk turn it around.
He's slicing, he's dicing. And ThunderTalk managed to bring that fight back under control as it starts with such a disastrous engage for them. They're going to try and take out this turret as well. The wave does get cleared, and I think that should finally force them to reset.
We'll back it up, but again, continuing to compound their advantage ever so slowly. Goal doesn't shift much, but you can feel the pressure kind of building up to rewatch this Axe replay.
And you can see how it starts with the Dream combo. The center root lands, Anders follows in on the ISO target, Ruiz chases it down. Very well played, Ruiz even flashes away. But at this point, ThunderTalk say, well, hang on, we still have 5 members on the Rift. The other one's named Geraldo. He's going to get us in underneath this turret. They follow with the Shockwave. And Team Queso, despite a valiant defense, step a little too far forward. Feibai finds the flank, and we're already fighting.
Yep, here we go. Acolyte actually zoomed his way in as S12K tried to bait them through, but memorized awfully low. Shockwave did clip him, I believe, at the end of that place. Center Roots making it very annoying, but S12K finds the engage onto 2, dies though, but will trade his life away for Ruiz. A very worthy sacrifice.
Yeah, S12K takes that trade any day of the week. they're going to be able to take this mid turret as a result, knowing that Ruiz, as the primary engage for this team, isn't here. The dream engage for Team Queso with Gold Card, followed by the center route, followed by Memorized Taunt engage. And they don't have that, not until Ruiz respawns. He's going to have to walk back here as well. This Dragon's very difficult to find.
Memorized, big taunt, finds 4. And Acolyte's going to dump on in there. Center ulti also over the top, but they don't quite have it yet. Chris trying to steal the Dragon. It is Andre that secures it. Chris is going to die in the process, and now Andre looks to try and find the reset, gets another kill as he takes out Z. Very nicely done for Queso.
Huge performance by Andre as he manages to find 2 in the back of the fight. The isolated targets feeding into the Kazakhs' bank account. And this is a teleport down to side lane from Ruiz, which means critically, he's not going to be here. They know this. This is dangerous. I don't think Team Queso can take this rift out.
Yeah, this feels like an overplay for me for Queso, just trying to win a little too much perhaps.
Yeah.
Ruiz going to take the tower instead.
You got the fight. Andre is going to be a real threat for the rest of the game with the amount of gold he just got. Kha'Zix, whenever he finds an isolated target, will destroy him. I want to flag something going opposite side of this affair, though. Z has been landing some good shockwaves, playing a good Orianna in these team fights, so he's got a decent bank account building up. Key among that, the Archangel staff completion means it's going to be a little bit harder to kill off Z, and he's starting to deliver on real damage. Watch for the rest of this game where the Orianna is in team fights. It's a critical point of focus for Team Queso. They must pick him off before the shockwave goes off, before he's able to add passive power.
Well, even though we watch this one again, Memorized that so well.
Memorized is such a good team fighting sport, he always has been. But in moments like that where he's able to find just 4-man engage and set up his team for success, you remember it.
And then this happens. Kha'Zix still Kha'Zix.
Just bouncing around.
Lucky it was only one, I suppose. But Queso, kind of off the back of that, despite maybe overreaching for the Herald, that does go over into the hands of Chris once again. They have done a very good job of chopping this gold lead down to just about 1,500, 2,000 gold ahead. So the snowball has been halted for now.
One problem, though, Team Queso did a very good job kind of mitigating the gold lead that went over. They still don't have any of these turrets. So it's still very difficult for Team Queso to control the map aggressively. They don't have those safe reset points that ThunderTalk do. And until Team Queso can break, in particular, that mid-tier 1, they're always going to be at a disadvantage for these objective fights.
Big sad days for Ruiz as well, and for Kha'Zix, honestly, as well. Love an open map as Twisted Fate. Love to be able to shadow nice and aggressively as Kha'Zix, so don't have those options quite yet. Team Queso are going to have to do a bit more work to open things up.
Watch Ibu's damage, though. It's starting to come online with the Murmonic condition. Oh, he's all too far forward.
Yeah, Kha'Zix good at killing people, also good at getting killed. Not particularly durable, as Chris is just heating on it. They Memorize. They find the taunt stun from Feibai. He's going to try and move forward now onto Acolyte. They're going to keep going for it. Center ulti way too late out of Ebu as ThunderTalk find one.
A little bit of a disaster from Team Queso. Andres does manage to get out of the fight with a good flash. But it's too late. Team Queso already memorized for the fight. And now they need to defend against this Rift Herald. They lose another turret in mid. It's going to get a charge off.
Oh, Acolyte saves it. Costs him his life. No, not yet. It actually is going to be a bait. S12K gets picked off.
Very well played. Acolyte yet again stepping up to create opportunities for Team Queso. As he shadow boxes a little bit. Look at just the command attack there from Z, moving the orb. Took maybe a third off of Andre's HP.
Yeah. Again, Kha'Zix very strong. 2.5 items there for Andre. Ready to assassinate just about anyone, but Z with the 2 items now done, also feeling pretty strong. I did have a cute one there. A Sinner Shroud was carding Twisted Fate with a gold carding, which I thought was adorable for kind of the submarine gold card action, but unfortunately it didn't work.
You'll see that quite a lot when you can get the Senna out, because characters move so fast in Wild Rift in comparison to League of Legends PC. They would quite often see Senna just used as a Shroud of Darkness for CC engaged. I like the submarine comparison.
It's a good time, as Ocean Drake has spawned. Always a fun one to fight over. Team's definitely in position to battle though, as it is Team Queso first to the area.
You're looking at Ruiz's gold card to find a key target here. Ruiz Memorized and Acolyte are the front line, zoning here, using that Twisted Fate ult to gain vision.
Ooh, that reset. Kind of brutal. Chris actually playing for the steal, it looks like. As ThunderTalk not in a rush to get to the objective.
Team Queso know they have a solid team fight. They'd rather take the team fight than the objective fight, because that gets very sketchy. So they back off here, match the wave, kind of daring ThunderTalk to walk in and take the space they once were.
Also not bad to maybe trade off here. Can maybe afford to give a Drake away if you get the mid out, which you've wanted for so long. Andre, though, is gearing up for something spicy. In we go. S12K finds 3 on the engage, and Center is already dead. Very nice there out of the ThunderTalk squad. A battle in the pit. Once again, won by Chris in his kick, as Andre's going to die at the back end of the play. And S12K, the man don't miss. That's 3 out of ThunderTalk.
And S12K combines with Z for maybe the 3rd time this game, as he sweeps into the team, lands the charm, they follow it with the Orianna damage, and that's going to be the Dragon, that's going to be the team fight, and now the Baron, all in ThunderTalk's hands, as this game was good for Team Queso, and is no longer.
Just so nicely played here by the Rakan. I mean, Andre, there's like a whole other thing happening, we just watch this Rakan.
And the follow-up, ooh, that's beautiful. And it's so well set up as well with Giambo Z at the sword, just kind of sitting behind that engage, knowing that they have the exact same zone of AoE damage lined up. You let it just vanish, man.
That's what happens. Baron vanishes as well. All of a sudden, it's 15 minutes through, and ThunderTalk are in a commanding position to try and end this game. We're going to have Faye by bottom side, getting those pushing through. Going to have a 4-1 little split here to kick it off, and ThunderTalk, they'll take just about any fight that looks decent here.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it is a little scary to go late because Ibu infinitely scales, memorized, very hard scaling champion, so there's no real reason to keep this game going. If you're ThunderTalk, you try and force these, you try and use the Baron advantage whilst you have it.
Yeah, Z actually tried to fish for the shockwave there. Would have killed Andre most likely, but Andre did leap away. But this is still fine. You can see Chi with the Baron, with the Orianna. You've got the disengage for the lead. They're going to maybe go for it here. Chris getting very spicy. Acolyte diving in, pops the stone plate. In goes Jarvan over the top, but Azul with a wonderful ulti. Gets the blade crawl on the back of it all. 2 dead already on the side of Team Queso, and that's a nice center route, but it's far too late.
I liked the play from Team Queso. It was their best bet, but it does not pay off. And ThunderTalk are going to open up this base and race towards game number 1.
Yep, series is done. Oh, sorry, game is done, TJ. Open up the series is what I meant to say. It's definitely not done yet, but this one is in the books as ThunderTalk are going to take a very commanding opener.
All right, Pastry, called it a little early.
I got the words in the wrong order. Everyone relax. What I didn't get wrong, though, was ThunderTalk looking good, as predicted by the desk. Early game definitely had some spotty moments, but as soon as they got control of the game, it felt like they never let it go.
Certainly, and I think there are good things to take away for Team Queso. They play those team fights well, and that was one of our key markers. Ruiz did pretty well in the mid lane, but ThunderTalk did a good job of denying them those exact win conditions we laid out at the very beginning. You know, you don't get the Ruiz VZ duel. So much that early game is instead defined by the team coming in and supporting Z, and Z being able to turn down any opportunity that Ruiz would have had to go in for those gold card fights to find those individual 1v1 opportunities.
And I will say, like, even though the early game, obviously level 1 didn't go very well, Z was never really going to apply that much pressure in the 1v1. Bottom lane felt like a wash. The one area that keeps kind of happening for ThunderTalk is Fabai on Renekton specifically. I don't know if it's just like what's happening because that game he like took a tower on his own because there was something else happening in the bottom side, or if Renekton is just that kind of champion, and if you get on top of the enemy, it's pretty easy to make it happen there, especially with Chris helping you out in lane. But I will say, you know, for a mid laner that is very much playing mid picks in a lot of these games, Renekton's looking not bad.
Yeah, we're looking down the sheet, and it's like Diana, Gragas. She's played a lot of characters that you can play in both mid and top lane. And of course, that's important for Vevai because he was the mid laner until this tournament, until the visa issues. But I will agree with you, his Renekton looks pretty solid. Part of that, probably, Renekton is a pretty good champion. Renekton's a pretty good game in Crocodile right now. But also, I think Vevai has a tremendous confidence in order to play the map. And you see that, like you were talking about in that last game, where the entire team fight's happening around the Drake, and he goes, I can just live my life up here. I can do some farming, and the team's got it. And I do wonder if that's maybe an advantage of him being a mid laner. He's got a very good understanding of where people are on the map and is able to get himself some extra gold when he has space to.
Well, definitely nicely done left ThunderTalk to open it up, but let's send it over to the Tigers and the crew in Singapore for more on that game.
Thank you, Pastry Time. Welcome back, everyone, to the stage here at the Wild Rift Horizon Cup. I also want to give a proper welcome back to our analysts. We have Omo, we have Grandin. You weren't joining us yesterday, and you're back. What have you been making of how the group stage has been continuing on?
I think it's a very exciting time. I think our analysts touched on that back in LA as well. This is the time when playoff spots are being snatched up, so everyone really needs to step up in these last few days here.
Yep, we take away our expectations from before the tournament started and now get to found a new whole set of expectations. Is that the right word? I don't know, Brandon. But with these two teams in particular really shaping out what we want to see from them.
I think even starting out, we guys kind of have to take a look at the draft because Queso had some interesting ideas going into this, and I kind of want to flag the Senna pickup a little bit more because my initial expectation was that Senna was going to play weak side, Senna was going to go and try and play for the late game. Instead, what they did was they used it as a means to initiate these skirmishes, try and set up for two-person, three people kind of team fights, little fights here and there, and use that crowd control in their favor.
Yeah, Team Queso definitely in their draft wanting to make sure that Z couldn't have as much prowess with those split pushers as he wanted, but we were wondering how that draft was going to come through when the game actually started.
Yeah, I mean, when we look at Z and when we look at his champion pool, I think this applies a lot to Feibai as well. These guys are just so versatile. We see them succeeding on all metas of pick. In the top lane, we see Feibai on both Diana, Renekton, like TJ touched on. In mid lane, Z is more than capable to pilot champions like Zed, Yasuo. But on mages as well, he always does his job. Look at the teamfight comp coming in from the side of TT, going up against the skirmish comp from Queso. Queso could never find Z. The only fights they took are the ones where they found him and killed him early, and they lost the game because they just weren't able to do that.
And the clashing of those styles, even looking at those initial moments, was very interesting to see because there was a kill here, first blood with everybody coming mid, then all of a sudden somebody's trying to find picks over on Team Queso, but TT really keeping that team fight into perspective.
I feel like that first kill kind of helped Queso stay in the game longer. That might have extended the game another 3 minutes, but realistically...
Maybe 30 seconds.
30 seconds?
Yeah.
All right, but ThunderTalk I felt like had really good grasp of what they needed to do to get things done, what they needed to do from point A to point B. There was a bit of a mishap with Feibai kind of overdived. You know, he used his flash when he didn't have to and died, and that kind of slowed the tempo down a little bit more for him. But we start to see the power and the importance of having a really strong duelist bruiser kind of top laner, Baron laner.
Yeah, and it's so interesting to see the way that ThunderTalk have been approaching this because even though they don't necessarily come ahead in kills, their gold lead has been consistently ahead, not just within this game, but a lot of their series thus far.
Yeah, and I think that that's a trend that you will notice from both of these Chinese teams here. DK as well as ThunderTalk, they've been very consistent in finding avenues, opportunities to farm. And like our analyst Alcasta said just now, if you look at the scoreboard, you often can't tell that it's this close or that they're in the lead. But they've always just found farm on the map that you just don't know it's there, and they accelerate their lead even though they don't get the kills.
Always finding the opportunities they need to pull out the victory, and now we have an opportunity to dive just that much more deep into this game. Digon, take it away.
Thank you very much, the Tigress. Time for Cisco Every Second Counts, and Team Queso proved that literally by getting first blood within the first 15 seconds of the game, Araki.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually so endemic to the NA meta. I feel like I'm watching a bot from my own scrims. And to analyze it a little further, so the reason why you do it is because when you do want to push the mid-wave level 1 with multiple members, you want to make sure to position in a way that secures that river bush that you can see on the side of the dragon lane. That way, after you do shove the mid lane wave, you have a shorter path down to the dragon lane for your duo. So what we saw in the level 1 clash will happen if both teams are thinking the same thing and both teams are misjudging their composition for being the stronger one, level 1.
Well, both had ways to have AoE CC. You had the Rakan knock up, but then you also had the Galio taunt, and they did select those kills first, and it ended up being a crazy fight there to kick things off, Kangas.
It started off great for Queso. They got that first blood, but then I got to question where that Lulu ban priority was. If I'm looking towards game 2 and what we had set up for Queso, where's the Renekton ban? I like the other two. Yeah, ban away Zed, ban away Riven. Those make sense. But gotta throw that Renekton ban in there too because Feibai, we talked about, can carry on that champion. And even though there's that kind of sloppy dive where he flash when he didn't need to topside, Feibai, I think, was the difference maker in that game to get ThunderTalk that win.
Araki?
Yeah, I do like the overall approach from Team Queso. They're kind of going with our advice from earlier to leave both like multiple prio picks open. So when blue side gets one, you get back another. And that was in the form of Senna. And Senna is really good for Evo. He performed really well on it during day one. It's really safe, reliable. You simply can't go wrong with it, right? But Renekton for Feibai is too high of a prio to give away. I think if they want to do a similar thing, perhaps do Fiora. ThunderTalk haven't shown they can play it yet, and it can't be flexed to the mid lane, so Z can't take it there either. So maybe a change up a little bit in their plan and sticking to the fact that they can leave multiple prios open, trade one for the other, and go on with a plan.
So seemed generally on the right path. Maybe these little tweaks will help them get the victory in game number 2. Let's send it back on over to our casters, Pastry and TJ. TJ, take it away.
Thank you very much, Degon. And we are into it, game number 2. I think you're absolutely right that the focus should be more on that Renekton. I think we had a very good conversation on the desk about Feibai, and we should direct the focus in this draft towards that double threat that's beginning to come out for ThunderTalk between Feibai and, of course, Z in the mid lane.
Yeah, like I said, I feel like Feibai, sometimes he looks like a Baron laner, which is rare because he became one before we even knew, right, as the tournament started. So I guess we'll have to find out if that continues. I do think Renekton is just one of those picks where it is quite good, it is pretty straightforward, and I think just about any solo player can pilot it. So if that is out of the pool, then perhaps it's a bit different.
Pastry Time says Renekton's easy.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Renekton,
I don't want to be that guy, but that's what I'm saying.
I believe his Twitter account's on screen at some point. If you'd like to send him some letters.
Could you please dig on?
Here we are at the draft for game number 2, and the bans for Team Queso yet again Z focused. We get rid of that Zed, get rid of that Riven, and we're waiting, on a Renekton, I think.
Are we?
That's what I want. That's what Kangas wanted. And if both me and Steve want something, let me tell you, we better get it.
Well, all right, Lulu instead. That's about as far away from Renekton as we can be.
Well, yes. But also, S12K is known for playing a solid Lulu, but also Lulu can take individual carries and really amplify them. So Team Queso are approaching this match as, and maybe this is something that's happened to them in scrims, but if they're approaching this match as, we need to shut down the star players over on ThunderTalk, then Lulu is an incredibly good way for ThunderTalk to amplify those star players. So it does make sense to me, especially if there is, some history there in scrims during the weeks they've spent in Singapore.
I do like this takeaway as well. Memorize, obviously, great teamfight support, great engage support player. So, instead of the Galio just taking the Rakan away from S12K, I don't think we've seen Galio much really out of ThunderTalk. So this is just a kind of a general approach to this draft that I like. A nice little tweak here for Queso.
Yeah, and something interesting on the ThunderTalk side as well is those bans are Acolyte bans, Jilly. There's an awful lot of Acolyte in that ban phase. We lose both Fiora and Camille. Acolyte's other big carry, the other character he can really run the map on is Riven, which of course their team is banning out, because you certainly don't want Z to get it. So I'm kind of looking at this draft and I'm thinking, Darius? And Darius into Renekton is fine, but it does limit the carry potential of Acolyte and put a lot more onto Ruiz. This is normally where I'd say, okay, so give Ruiz a hard carry. He's on Twisted Fate. Twisted Fate is good, don't get me wrong, but not a teamfight carry.
Yeah, definitely more about, maybe being aggressive in the lane and then enabling the other side. So we'll have to see what happens. But Thresh is back on the map for S12K.
Love some Phone Daddy. Yeah. He's going to come out here and play for ThunderTalk as that kind of secondary engage tool. It works very well when you have somebody that can get in and start fights already. Renekton does that, lands the stun, you follow up, you land the hook, and you're guaranteed a pretty solid one-team fight.
Oh,
okay. So, Kai'Sa's very good. Kai'Sa is a solid teamfight carry, and this is what they were missing. I was going down the list, I was saying, I don't think I can see Acolyte on a carry. I don't think there really is one left on the meta. And I don't see Ruiz on a hard teamfight carry, so where does their teamfight damage come from? The answer is they're putting their faith in Ebu in the bottom lane. Ebu is a very mechanically talented player, as I kind of hinted at earlier. I do think he's kind of been underperforming here in Wild Rift compared to his performances in previous mobile esports. So maybe a chance for him to deliver on what I know he can do. As the team puts an awful lot of faith on him. The key to playing Kai'Sa as a carry is you need early gold injection. You need, for instance, a Twisted Fate to get down in that lane early and give you some gold.
To me, though, this does seem like Acolyte is going to be back on something like the J4, right? Maybe Darius, but like, you know, something that's not going to play to. I feel like you want to play to your Kha'Zix, you want to play to your Kai'Sa, you want to play to your purple champion.
Oh!
They drafted a third purple champion!
Too much purple, too many carries! Okay, so this flips things, and it makes sense now as to why they were holding Acolyte's pick till the very end. Jax is going to require attention, require gold, gonna need some of that teleport in from Ruiz. And we haven't seen Acolyte's Jax yet. It is very meta, very popular at this tournament, but it hasn't been in EU, so this is Acolyte pulling out something he's learned recently, I suspect.
And on the other side, like, it's the same draft but without Rakan, and they would have probably taken Rakan if it hadn't been taken away by Queso. Obviously, ThunderTalk very comfy in this kind of strategy, happy to let Z be a little bit more of a role player and just, you know, kind of split the lane and then be effective out on the map. And in teamfights, which he definitely has been more of his strength as a mid laner so far. S12K is back on a proactive support. Kaiba is on his best Baron lane pick. Chris is on Lee Sin. Azura is like, only has one champion unlocked, so I guess they pick Xayah again.
It's rough when your account only has one champion.
I know. Loaded up, it's like,
he did play a really good Lucian, and Lucian wasn't banned, so...
Lucian's not on the account right now.
Oh, okay, my bad. Got in the free rotation.
Yeah. Doesn't have it available. So it does feel like Queso, you know, thinking about a different way to attack this draft, and maybe Jax is the answer.
Yeah, no, I actually really like this Team Queso draft. I think they genuinely have won this drafting phase. I would have given them a slight bias in the last draft as well, but the Rakan really made up for the defensive focus of ThunderTalk. The Rakan kind of enabled ThunderTalk to decide fights, get in aggressive, force Team Queso around the map. S12K doesn't have that this time. This may be the mythical Proto-Belt Thresh that we have seen a couple of times, and that does offer some engage opportunity, a little bit more than just a hook. But it's still going to be kind of Team Queso's map to run, at least until they fall behind, at least on the bottom half. Chris obviously will be an engaged threat. Fabai obviously is an engaged threat, but they're a little slower to get started on the bottom half of the map, so I want to see Team Queso play through Ibu, give him gold early, and yeah, Acolyte's just up there. You can get him ahead.
Yeah, it's tough because, like you said, it feels like there are a few too many carries you want to play to, and obviously you don't really have the time to play to all of them, so someone is going to have to be self-sufficient in the 1v1.
And I would bias towards that being Ibu, just both because Acolyte has definitely earned the trust of his team in this event, and also because Kai'Sa can do that. You can play an insurance policy Kai'Sa. This is very popular in the SEA meta. You just put a Kai'Sa in the bottom lane. She's not going to do anything terribly flashy, but she's pretty survivable. And once you get to late game, she'll do enough teamfight damage to be a teamfight.
Why do I get the feeling that we are going to get Proto-Belt Thresh? I believe that's the Hummus special, Proto-Belt on every support. I think he did it on Thresh already this tournament.
Yeah, S12K is famous for playing Garen support. That's also something that happens in the SEA region, or sorry, in the Chinese region. So you can't predict, is what I'm saying. I do expect this to be a little more prio on tank from S12K. So if that's the case, they're actually pretty light on engage. It's kind of just that top side, Fabai and start finds for ThunderTalk.
Definitely saw them play objectives a lot though, so we'll see if they can get that done.
Early attempt to shut down Acolyte coming out here as Chris paths up.
Seen this before. This is basically the same game they played
Ruiz
last time, and they've decided against it. Maybe not. They're going to get the wave pushed in. Ruiz gets cuts off by Z. That's pretty big. And Chris now going to zone up the Jax. Gets on top. Stun is there. Ooh, lovely Q threading. Fabai flashes in for the stun. Acolyte, not many places to go. Out of summoners now. And that is the first blood for ThunderTalk.
Behind the tier 2. They are so determined to shut down that Jax that ThunderTalk dived the tier 2 turret.
Okay, double play looking very nice, but here's Andre shutting down Azure. There's the kill they needed on the other side as Queso do answer.
And the upside to having an insurance policy Kai'Sa, as Ruiz looks for a kill here.
See here, but maybe a little late. Yep, out of mana, there's the shield. Just getting away there.
Just throwing cards. They don't do anything magical. They're just playing cards.
Unfortunate. But nice answer, honestly, from Andre. They needed to make a play on the other side of the map, and they did.
And this is the upside to running an insurance policy, Kaiser, is that if things go wrong, if your ideal carry falls behind, say hypothetically to a 3-man dive behind his tier 2, the Kaiser can become your carry.
I will say, though, this was very well played by ThunderTalk to set this up. This looked like impossible. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, Acolyte, as soon as the stun ends, boom, he's hit by the resonating strike. Chris with the flash to finish it off. Very well played. Just the perfect turret dive, tier 2, 1 minute into game.
Yep. You know, the usual.
The usual.
Yep. It happens every game. See it all the time. ThunderTalk. First blood answered well, as we said, by Queso. Was Andre actually invading? We don't see this very often. S12K says, get out of my jungle. Andre says, maybe, maybe not. Rui's going to join us, and now we got to leave. Click on the button, and we did indeed do it, but Azua burned the ulti as well.
Rui is spending the Destiny, and this really does mean that it's a bottom lane game. It's a bottom lane game for Team Queso.
One lane only.
Because what's happening in the top lane is pretty miserable for Acolyte. He's down to a single plate on that tier 1. So all the gold for Team Queso goes to Ibu now, and you hope that's enough to win it.
Almost out of plates there on top side. Acolyte is defending the tower with his life.
Gonna have to start serving food in bowls. It's a little awkward.
You know, you run out of stuff. Dishwasher's broken, eaten out of a mug.
Like, this suit could be drank.
Ooh, good little hit there from Memorize. Great quickness there as well. Nice ulti. Z gonna turn it around. 1v2!
My God!
It would have happened, but Memorize was there with the shield.
Memorized keeps Ruiz alive by maybe 1 HP. Ruiz was sitting on the flash, so a testament to his faith in his support.
Almost got him killed, though, in his defense. So, Memorize did do the right thing and saved the play at the end of it. Azua, sorry. No ulti. Flash and heal, though, available. S12K shutting it all down. Andre flashes in! There's the trade, but it's now 2v1 for S12K. Oh, that's not who he expected! Ruiz! There's Ruiz over the top with the stun. Knock up out of Rakan, and that's a beautiful double from Team Queso.
Rift Herald summoned in the mid lane here for ThunderTalk, and Team Queso are not plus. They'd like to keep putting gold into Ibu.
One lane game. Oh, Ibu going for the play. That's not it. Fabai is going to shut that off.
Z does it again, just shredding Ibu. His only option is to ult in to try and turn that, and there's no way that works out. So Team Queso lose this trade quite drastically.
No minions. Oh, there's the cannon. I take it back, Fabai. Hands there by the Orianna. This should be so easy, and indeed it is. Fabai just walks up and kills him.
And that is a turning point for this game, because ThunderTalk have now eliminated both potential carries, as this, what was a very well executed play around counters. Nothing works out here, but Andre still manages to lock down what he wants. We're still going.
Yeah, we don't have time. We've got still ThunderTalk making a play. Z gets another kill. There's the double. Ruiz gonna make it 3, just feeding them. No, not yet. Fabai instead. Oh, that is the wrong direction. The punish is the maximum out of ThunderTalk.
Disastrous. I think you're absolutely right to blame them. I don't think that was the right call to Destiny get into a 1v4 in the best of situations, but he very much should have had a 1-for-1 there with Ruiz. I don't know if it was a tap cast, the auto-targeting messing with him, or just a flick in the wrong direction. Either way, a mechanical error means that Ruiz misses out on the 1-for-1 trade. And even as I was moments ago saying that Team Queso have kind of lost their carrying threats, doubly so now. This is a very difficult game for them to turn. Kind of the only angle is through Drakes.
Well, just again here, the Axe replay setting it up here. ThunderTalk just dive and dive and dive.
And look at that, teleporting to a 1v4. There is still one minion underneath that turret. So he taps it to tap cast it and auto targets the minion.
You hate to see it, but could, of course, dry casted that and avoided all that issue.
You can't tap cast. Gamers, never tap on your skill shots.
You tell me that every day, still I don't. As initiation indicates, look at all right. Shockwave is very nice, though, out of Z. Is going to protect the low members on the team, as S12K was getting a bit spicy in it.
Chris down bottom, shoving in the way. Clutched by the earlier attempt on this line.
He's chilling. He's got, you know, Feibai in the back pocket. S12K is doing his thing. Chris is the Baron laner now. He wants to take these towers. He's you know, moonlighting as the solo laner for the time being, as ThunderTalk find themselves up about 4,000 gold already. And Mirage trying to make it happen. Stun onto Azure, but no follow-up, and that's just going to dissipate. Queso find nothing there.
Yeah, Team Queso are trying to force these fights, which is understandable. It's their only angle back into this game. Feibai not spotted by the Europe plans. But having said that, it's obviously not working out for them. So how do you pause this game? How do you put this game on hold so that Ibu, Rubies, and Acolyte can deliver on your late game? I think it comes from this Rift Herald trade. Try and get just objectives on the
Yeah, maybe don't invade too much as Feibai is going to punish Acolyte in the front line. Now fighting back action. This could be a font of life, but instead it's Z. Just waltzes on in for the double shockwave.
And I think we can take back what we said at the beginning of this, which is Z, you know, looks good in team fights. Is he a good mid laner? Yeah, he's delivering here on the Orianna. Using Orianna's increased movement speed to just be everywhere the team needs him to be, delivering on massive shockwaves, team fight after team fight. And Z is one of the best players in the world in now 2 different roles as ThunderTalk continue to put Team Queso in the dirt.
I mean, the solo lane tip of ThunderTalk just absurdly far ahead. 2,000 gold plus ahead of their opponent so far in this game. That is basically the gold lead that ThunderTalk are currently sitting on. Ebu actually doing pretty well, sitting up 1k over Azure, but it's just going to take so long for this Kai'Sa to get there, and now again, desperately find 2 with the chop. That's a great knock up there, but Azure gets the ulti out. Z's still alive!
Ebu!
No, he did die, and take it all back in Azure. Now trying to live, but I think it's a bridge too far as Chris does find the kick, gets the kill! It's the bowling alley frag! And now Acolyte's going to die as well, and Reese has just got nothing left. Feibai is going to get one as Chris has found himself a quadra kill from beyond the grave, and S12K almost makes it 5. But Ruiz lives for now.
Chris, with an incredible leash in play, manages to make the impossible happen. Team Queso with a very good team fight here, and it all vanishes in the blink of an eye. Take a look at the engage from Team Queso. It's darn near perfect. Massive play out, forces the shockwave very early on with both Ruiz and Ibu just kind of free-firing. This is exactly what you want. Ibu flashes in to finish up the kill into Azure, and then that happens. And even now, you see Ruiz, this is pretty good overall for him. This is pretty good overall for Team Queso. They slow down the pace of play again. See if it's enough.
They definitely need time. That ball is, pretty well positioned. That's okay. Found the double play off the back of that. And Queso just not respecting the seed power of Orianna.
And look at the chains there. The teamwork, gold card into shockwave as the immediate answer. The second that stun lands, ThunderTalk have the CC to protect from it.
And this could be it if they go for it here. We've got Jax on the bottom side of the map. They are going to move in for it. Chris gets another kill. Shelly's charging into the Nexus. It's just disrespect all over the Rift as ThunderTalk are going to have to leave the Jax.
The split lane in the bottom side of the map, Acolyte has single-handedly forced a reset, and he's going for the inhibitor. They're not going to be here in time. He's going to get this turret.
Gonna keep hitting it. Feibai here, just in time, perhaps, to save the day. Acolyte is ignoring it. Yep, Counter-Strike's up, hits it down. He's opened up the map. Feibai's going to punish him. I don't think Acolyte can leave here. Flash, maybe I'm wrong. As Acolyte turns around, Feibai's like, I don't like this at all. Chris says, don't worry, buddy. Oh! No, I don't. Acolyte gets the kill from the grave.
And now in the middle of the map, Ruiz has found Z. He's all alone.
Flashes out, gonna be okay, but Team Queso went from Shelly charging the next and almost losing the game to Acolyte saving the day.
I've never seen a game get closer after the Rift Herald collides with the Nexus.
All right, we're gonna have to take a breath. A quick pause, because we're not gonna get very many more. In fact, the pause is over as Andre is running away from S12K.
So these team fights are now about carries. For Team Queso, that's Ibu, that's Acolyte. For ThunderTalk, that's Azure, that's Z. In particular, Z. Watch for the dive, that's going to come from Anders, as well as Ruiz with the gold card. If they can find those combos onto Z and take him out early in fights, ideally before the shockwave finds optimal use, Team Queso will be able to win the 5-on-5s. Ibu is going to start doing damage at this point in the game.
The other thing is Acolyte is not interested in 5v5ing right now. He is straight split pushing.
And that's the right call, because that's how you leverage a Jax in a game that you're behind. The fact that even from behind, the Jax can win those side lane 1v1s means that it's so hard to just send one person to contain it. Here's the problem though, Drake's coming up. This is an Ocean Drake, it's quite important stat-wise. You also have Baron coming up. How did Team Queso respond? Oh, this is interesting.
Overloading topside here. In fact, they're all on the Baron side of the map, and ThunderTalk looking to respect them. They just leave Chris back to take the Dragon, but they are running it straight to this top half.
Team Queso forcing a fight.
Memorize going in, Z the target, but not completed. There's the stasis. Acolyte going in, gonna get hooked up. That is a faithful take out of Jackson. Chris is gonna find the kick on Ruiz, looks to try and take him out. Into stasis we go as 12K. There it is, the proto belt play TJ was looking for as Team Queso are routed. Azua is just splitting back through mid.
And in the middle of the map, Azure is going to be able to free fire up to this Nexus as Andre runs for his life. Andre is going to get back to the turret, but Ruiz and Anders now need to hold this turret for so long, need to hold this Nexus for so long versus 5 enemy players.
Yep, 2v5 right now. Chris tags Anders. He's going to get to see him now. They're just going for the Nexus. There's nothing Queso can do. ThunderTalk, even with Acolyte's heroics, are going to take the 2-0.
What a performance from Acolyte, who has emerged from this tournament as the, I think, by far standout player over on Team Queso. He manages to deliver just no resources. Remember the early game? We said, oh, Acolyte's so far behind. This is an Ibu game now. This is all about the bottom lane and the Kaisa. And Acolyte still manages to be the big word coming out of that game. Finding so much gold in the side lane, finding opportunities to split push.
But on the other side, like, and we said his name a lot, Z is definitely a player we're excited about. S12K is looking very fancy. Feibai is stepping into the role a little bit more. But for me, the most important thing is that game on game, series on series, ThunderTalk, who have also secured first in this group, by the way, are looking more and more like a team every day.
That's what I was going to say, and it's kind of terrifying.
Yeah, it's really terrifying.
Because this is a team that, again, is top of this group, and they looked a little mortal. You know, the Sengoku series, you were like, okay, I see weaknesses, because you had to swap out your entire roster. 3 players couldn't make this event due to visa issues, and there were the logical issues that would cause, where your carries are kind of playing just mechanical outplay and hoping that's enough to win the series. Here, on this stage, we are seeing a team get forged as they work out how the team play engineers them success in these complicated series where the mechanical play is going to get challenged.
As they figure out the team selfie, definitely part of the teamwork. Beth's definitely part of the teamwork I think they can improve on. I think they know it as well. But you know what? The winners get to take selfies, not the losers. And they are still winning here in Horizon Cup.
Did you see the one where Feibai took it at S12K's like in the very corner? It's just the top of his hair.
Yeah.
That's, you can tell that the team's scaling because day one, they take that selfie where you can't even see S12K. He's out of frame. You just saw that selfie. Whole team lined up in camera.
Feibai's mechanics have improved leaps and bounds at the end of the games.
He's no longer taking the selfies.
Also, they figured it out. You know what? They diverted the problem. As that was quite a series there for ThunderTalk. As let's send it over to the State Farm analyst desk to break down that series.
Thank you very much, Pastry. And ThunderTalk Gaming, as you guys said there on the casting desk, now have locked in first place here, Kangas.
And they learned how to take their selfies as well. I mean, that was scaling, exactly. And again, this is their first 2-0 now. They went 2-1 in their last 2 series, so it looks like they're getting better. They're scaling up. They got Ebro up next. I think ThunderTalk are taking this whole group undefeated. I mean, a 4-0 match victory here to take first. That means that they're going to be definitely scary opponents to go into that knockout stage.
Yeah, definitely crazy. And when you think about this team, again, the roster swaps, the role swaps, Z, best laner in the world. That's not even the lane that he normally plays!
Z's performance this game is disgusting. Like, he almost gets multiple, like, solo, or like 1v2 outplays. His Orianna was doing massive damage. And Team Queso, credit to them for having a very different strategy than I expected. I kept thinking Acolyte, Acolyte, Acolyte. That's the lane you want to play through. And in this game, too, they played entirely through the bot lane for the entire first half of it. That was an awkward one right there. I didn't know if they were going to include that in the highlight package or not. But Team Queso, it felt like sometimes they got a little over-eager. They looked for a little too much here and there. But they still were, they made it a fairly close game regardless.
Yeah, and there was a little bit of fight back here by Team Queso, Araki, where it looked like the game was over, but they were able to battle back.
Yeah, somehow they found the energy to come back and actually have some really good team fights. I think the Rakan for Memorize was a really big pick. Allows for a really easy engage and easy pick potential, especially combined with the Kazakhs once he has a few levels under his belt. So definitely props to Team Queso for not going out and giving up really early on.
Yeah, the word that comes to mind here is resilience, because they could have rolled over if they wanted to. You saw this here, Herald pop. You thought this was going to be the end of the game, I think.
TJ had the point. He was like, I've never seen a Herald hit a turret, or hit the Nexus rather, and then afterwards the game is closer than before it hit the Nexus because of what Acolyte was able to do on that split push Jax. And it just makes me wonder, what would that game have looked like if they had played into the Jax rather than away from the Jax?
Well, we've got someone that has the brain to break that down for us, Araki. That was the thing that you wanted to point out.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so sad because you can clearly see the potential in the pick. Even down so much gold, he was creating so much pressure, got an inhib in the bot lane. But if you're picking something like the Jax, a strong side top laner that wants to get rolling and become a big threat in the side lane, you cannot just leave him on an island to get shut down early game. They needed either jungle pathing up there to help him or mid lane if they get a chance, but not supporting your last pick, the counter pick, by the way, in their draft, to just completely get shut down. Yeah, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, and in a way it's wasted potential, unfortunately.
I will say I think it's smart for ThunderTalk. If you notice the timing, that play in particular, before TF has level 5. So there's no Destiny to join in and counter that play. I think that's very smart for ThunderTalk to say, look, we have the Renekton, we have the Lee Sin, let's dive this Jax before the TF can answer it. So then you look at the Kazakhs, who also wants to power farm and hit level 5 before then trying to interact these lanes. So it feels like, yes, I would have liked to see more defense around that Jax, but ThunderTalk just found the window where it's like, well, this is a natural time for us to go for it, and they executed perfectly.
I think that's a really good point that you brought up. And it's also a story of jungle diff that's coming through a little bit, because Kazakhs, extremely popular in EU, right? Extremely popular, but clearly getting punished on the global stage because it is slow in the early game. And ThunderTalk had the Lee Sin who could play aggro repeatedly until he accelerated his own laners and got them going before the Kazakhs could get going.
I do want to note, though, it's not over for Team Queso.
Okay.
Even losing this match, they still have Sengoku that they're going up against tomorrow, and that's going to decide who gets that third place match. If Sengoku win, there's a chance they could get second, depending on how things shake out. But Team Queso, if they win that, they'll own the head-to-head and be matched in records. So yeah, as we pull this one up right here, you see Sengoku currently 1-1. Regardless of how their match goes later today, even if they win, they're 2-1. But Team Queso, if they beat them tomorrow, 2-2 head-to-head. Team Queso, it's still in their hands to get out of group. So if you're a Team Queso fan, it's not doomed. They still do have a chance. And I think that honestly Sengoku should be sweating seeing Team Queso's performance today.
Yeah, that little bit of fight back. Again, the draft changes, and of course, the resilience there at the end of the game. Hold your head high, Team Queso. You got one more shot to make it on through. Now, when we return, we look forward to Rollster Y versus Da-Kun Gaming. Don't go anywhere.
Would you ride for me? Handshake, one of a kind, homie. I be trying to vibe on the wave. I'm a big vibe on the wave.
Look. It's invisible, but it's always with you. It's the defender of your decisions, the bodyguard of your buffs, the guardian of your greatness on the Rift. It's the Cisco Network, powering every epic moment at the Horizon Cup. so you can go wild on the Rift.